right, folks. Hey, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Telephone number 870-275-9799 is the number if you want to contribute to the conversation. Hey, joining us now, we've got Jonesboro Alderman Bobby Long is back with us. Bobby, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's always good to be here.
Yeah, I always appreciate our conversations. Also, running for state rep, District 53 primary. How's that going?
It is going really well. We had a good event at Black Iron shooting range the other night. Had a good turnout. Gave away a $50 gift card there, and people brought their guns. I brought my 1933 Russian Mosin Nagant. Very neat rifle.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I'll show my ignorance here.
It's a 1933 Russian sniper rifle.
Okay.
And it shoots around about that big, you know. But it is so much fun. But I had a really good time. And we're looking forward to the next event. It's going to be at Sage Meadows on Thursday, December the 12th at 6 p.m. The same type of thing, meet and greet, drop-in fundraiser type of thing. There'll be food there. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of my Sage Meadows friends out there. A lot of people that I work with live out there. Sophie and Katie Puckett. You know, there's some of the they are going to be strong Republicans when they grow up.
Okay,
I know they are.
Good. So tell me a little bit about this story. I saw it. It was in the Jonesboro Sun. It was also in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It seems like for a while there's been a movement to try to rename a street in Jonesboro Martin Luther King Road or Boulevard or whatever. Yes. And it's come before the council several times. It finally passed this week.
Last Tuesday.
So talk a little bit about this. Like, give me a context of how we got to this point.
Okay, at first, when this started, Johnson was the target. Johnson Avenue was the target. Passionate people on both sides of the argument, on both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Business owners come in, you know, and they said, we have invested a lot of money, time and effort for our logo, for our signage, for our letterhead. The vendors that service them, not only the marketing aspect of advertising their location and where they were, and it would cost them a lot of money to change. Not only that, but they also brought the historical aspect of Johnson Avenue in there. So that was a big controversy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they decided to do a unity coalition, which was made up of some people off of the city council and then community members to determine an alternative for Johnson Avenue, one that would fit. Out of this alternative, there was a couple of options that actually made it through. One was a trail system, Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Trail, I believe is what it's called, from the ASU corridor up to I believe downtown maybe. But there were going to be informational plaques all along the way so that people could stop and read about what he had said.
Yeah, kind of like a park or something.
Yeah, sort of like a park all along this trail. And I thought that was the best alternative.
That sounds actually, obviously money spent on it aside. You got to have the money to do it. But yeah, that sounds like reasonable, I mean.
Well, and I'll tell you my thought process on that here in just a minute.
Okay.
The other option was to rename a corridor of I-555 Martin Luther King Memorial Way or whatever it was going to be. But and I was not really opposed to that because it wouldn't impact a lot of businesses, things like that. We got to a council meeting not long ago, and the trail system, I believe, passed, but the Commerce Drive, there was a lot of talk, and it actually was proposed to amend that to take Commerce Drive, the existing Commerce Drive, and then whatever Commerce Drive looks like in the future when it extends. 26 businesses, from what I understand, maybe 7 houses are on that would have been affected. One gentleman that owns, I believe, a bolt supply company said that over the past several years that he's invested almost $250,000 in advertising his location on Commerce Drive. And that was just one of the 26 or 25 businesses. Well, because it was a significant change in the ordinance itself, it was, well, it needed to go back to the first reading.
Right.
Because it was a significant change. The community needed to have opportunity to come and voice their opinion. It was a significant enough change to where it needed to go back to first reading.
Yeah.
Last Tuesday, we had the first reading, and it was proposed by one of the council members that we waive second and third reading and just vote on it. The idea was that more than likely, the majority of the council members have already made up their mind on how they were going to vote, and there was no sense in extending that time period. However, there was a process to be involved. There was a process involved, and that's the reason that we read things 3 times, to give people an opportunity to know that it's there. Also, this was not on the regularly scheduled day that the city council meetings were going to occur.
Yeah.
It happened on a Monday because of the holiday instead of a Tuesday. We even had a new person that come in that voiced their opinion that had not been to them before. And so how many others, would we have heard from had we had let it go on 3 readings? I voted no against that because I believe there's a process involved and we need to follow that process, especially on something like this, to where it's going to involve a lot of the community, and a lot of people have opinions and passions on both sides. And I think it would have been prudent for us to have waited and to have heard, from giving people the opportunity to hear. Well,
I think that's reasonable and just fair.
Well, it is fair. It is reasonable.
And it
is prudent. That's the thing.
I know you're running for state rep, but I just, this. That sometimes those type of procedural things happen. I will say they can, sometimes it's supposed to sit for 24 hours before you take it. Go from committee. It's got to sit for 24 hours before you get to the House. But sometimes people try to, suspend the rules to get what they want. And I want to be clear here.
Right.
Sometimes the temptation is to, just because you want to get what you want to destroy the process, so you get the outcome you want. And that's the ways that I have a problem with it. I think that's that there's an issue there.
Yeah. There was no emergency.
Exactly.
There was no emergency
or something like that.
Nothing like that. It wasn't time sensitive.
Yeah.
But yet we did waive second and third reading. I thought that was not the right thing to do.
You think the negative press, because see, the underlying theme here, let's just be honest, is that if the Jonesboro City Council can't rename a street Martin Luther King, that there's somehow institutional racism involved. There must be. That and I think maybe that's why some people wanted to just amend the process, because they're tired of potential negative press.
Yeah, well, I think, as you know, over the past several months, that aspect of it, I never really entered my mind.
Okay.
I mean, I get press that's good sometimes. I get a lot of press that's bad sometimes, But at the same time, I do what I think is right. And it was not right, I do not believe, in my opinion, to waive second and third reading. Because that is a process that we have in place for a reason. And the reason is to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to attend at least one of the meetings, and voice their opinion on that particular ordinance or that particular subject that's before the council. And we bypassed that. So moving forward, we waive second and third reading, which means that at that point, that ordinance was going to be voted on to be set in stone. And we voted. And it passed. I did vote against it.
It was 9-3.
It was 9-3. And I would like to share a little bit about why I voted the way I do, because I think people need to know. I think people deserve that from their elected officials, to understand how they voted the way they did. And it wasn't that I was against a street or an avenue or anything carrying the name of Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not against that. I felt the trail system was a better idea. And here's the reason. To me, I was looking at this. I've studied Bible history for, 25 years. And when you look at those people and the servant attitudes that they had, the servant is always more interested in the message that they carry than uplifting the messenger that carries it. And when you look at Martin Luther King, I believe he was one of those types of people that believed more in the message that he carried than he himself as the messenger. So I started contemplating that in my mind, and I thought, what situation or what solution best fits what his life was all about?
Yeah.
Was the message that he carried. And I felt the trail system did that. It inspired, it communicated well, and it also commemorated him. But it educated too.
Yeah,
So it
'cause
inspired, it educated, it
Yeah.
communicated, and
Yeah.
it commemorated.
Yeah.
And I do not see for the life of me how a 4-inch by 24-inch green sign with his name on it does those same things. I just do not see it. But yet, you see, the way that I voted, you have people saying that it's racist, that it's bigoted,
That's not,
even
yeah.
clannish.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah, some
even
people-
clannish. And
That's sad,
they do
you
not know me.
They don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt.
No.
They just assume that it has to be racially motivated.
Yeah.
When
And-
it's actually very well thought out. And you mentioned Bible history. I mean, in many ways, the trail system would have been very much like an Ebenezer.
Yeah.
Because you would have had these plaques with his message. You'd had young kids or young college students walking up and down these paths, reading, "Judge a man not by the color of his skin, but by
the content of his character.
Yeah.
I've even used that line many times before
Yeah.
because it's a line that's not identified solely for a certain race. It is a universal desire that everybody of every color and every nationality and every creed has to be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin.
Yeah, that's
So-
really good.
So
really
that
good.
was my thought process. And to be honest with you, the last I guess 2 or 3 weeks, I've had many people that have emailed me personally and have expressed the reasons that they wanted this particular Commerce Drive or
Yeah.
Johnson. And we have had some very, very good civil discussions.
Well, and
I appreciate that
yeah,
too.
and
I do.
And in saying that, and I know you would agree with this, there are many people who the fact that it passed and Commerce
Mm-hmm.
Drive is now going to be renamed Martin Luther King Jr. means a whole lot to them, and I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I appreciate that they are, happy. I guess the business aspect of it, though, is kind of something that's kind of skirted
Yeah.
along. Like we don't really care about the business cost or anything like that. But I do want to say the Democrat Gazette, they quoted this that the decision, and I guess this maybe had something to do with the commission that was established. You'll have to clarify this for me, Bobby. The decision angered some members of the Unity Coalition. Lisa Melton, a member of the Craighead County chapter of the NAACP, said in a later meeting that she had lost all respect for the council and accused members of backroom dealings. Quote, "I was angry and ashamed. I carry the guilt of descending from the white power structure that at minimum allowed it to happen and benefit from that structure. I lost my temper." What's she talking about? White power structure.
I'm not really for sure. Lisa Melton is one of the ones, though, that came back last meeting and actually apologized.
Okay.
So
all right,
she
some
did.
Context.
And she was also one that I also had an email correspondence with as well.
Okay. Good. Good.
So and we did talk, and we talked civilly, and I thanked her for her apology. Also, I did happen to sort of not see things eye to eye with her on a certain aspect. Is carrying the guilt and shame and sins of past people that I had no contact with. If you carry the guilt and shame of others, that you didn't do, then that's gonna eat you alive.
Yeah.
It just will. So I can't carry that guilt and that shame because I didn't involve myself in that. And really, when you think of it, today we are operating and we are benefiting from the work of so many people. Look at Eli Whitney and the cotton gin.
Yeah.
Penicillin. you have the people that built the railroads,
Yep.
that created steel.
And those people, Bobby, they did great things, and they also did bad things.
They did.
Because we're not
They
perfect.
did. Yes. And Martin Luther King was just one of those people.
Yeah.
He did a wonderful thing, and I'm all for commemorating him. I thought the trail system, though, was the best idea to forward the message that he wanted to give.
Yeah.
So yes, we, that did happen. And she did say all of those things, but later on she did
apologize.
She did apologize.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Bobby, and I want you to tell us again. I mean, if people want to continue this conversation and others about your running for state rep,
yes,
your event, Sage Meadows, give the date again.
Sage Meadows, December the 12th, Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. Please come out. And as like I've said to everybody, please do not hesitate to email me if you have any question on any stance that I have. I will let you know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to mention is consistency.
Yeah.
I got a call from a 70-year-old lady yesterday that just blessed my socks off. Her name was Miss Grimes. She lives on Commerce Drive. And she says, Mr. Long, I've put this off, but I didn't want to put it off any longer. I want to thank you for your vote and your stance and your consistency in what you do and how you operate.
Wow.
And you would not believe, the just the uplifting and encouragement that gives people in office, because a lot of times you hear a lot of the things that you hear, I want you to vote this way, or I want you to consider this or that. And, but to hear someone, to come out and say, thank you for what you do, thank you for your stance, thank you for your principles and conservative views and the way that you vote, that means a lot.
Do you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. I ate way too much. The pumpkin pie was thick, and the Cool Whip was even thicker.
Yep.
How about you?
No, yeah, it was fantastic.
Did you cook your brisket?
No, didn't do brisket.
Okay.
We traveled, and I tell you, the Wednesday night meal was almost better than the Thursday night meal. We had official. There was a guy in our family from born and raised in Louisiana, so we had gumbo.
Oh.
We had chili. And then my cousin actually just really had a positive duck hunt, and so we had these duck poppers on the on a grill where we shish kebabbed them with a bell pepper and cream cheese.
Was Friday night's meal even better?
Yeah, the leftover
and
meal.
Saturday and Sunday.
Man, I'm telling you though, it was like it was the Wednesday night meal was it for me. I didn't even have to eat Thursday, but
I tell you what,
I
we live in an unbelievably blessed country and an unbelievably blessed community, and we have some of the best people here, that you can ever find.
Yeah.
And I would want to just, if you would allow me to do this, I want to encourage everyone to do one thing this week, is to put 10 pennies in your right pocket and then go out and do something nice for somebody, and don't tell anybody that you did it. And then when you do, take 1 penny and put it in your left pocket. And at the end of the week, you have done and blessed 10 different people that no one else knows about but you.
That's awesome, and especially because in the Christmas season, I think that's great. That's great, and don't tell anybody about it either.
Don't tell anybody about it.
All right, don't boast about it. Bobby Long, everybody. We're going to take a break, going to reset here. We're